Thank you, Madam President. And as everyone scrambles to get their bills, I'd like to speak about women for 5 minutes, a wonderful topic that we can all appreciate. Those of us who lived during the 60s and 70s may recall a brand of cigarettes that was targeted specifically to women with the slogan, "You've come a long way, baby." And actually, at that time, women had come a long way and could celebrate a level of independence that perhaps they hadn't experienced before. Many had dismissed the notion of the necessity of domestic life or that their destinies were tied solely to marriage or motherhood. They were seeking educations, they were pursuing careers that perhaps were outside of those careers normally reserved for women. They were demonstrating against the war while living on college campuses as co-eds, and you may remember this, they were burning their bras. And at that time, women's liberation, because it was truly liberation, and the Equal Rights Amendment were topics on everyone's lips. But half a century beyond that, women continue to achieve in society. We continue as heads of our households and also in the workplace. However, we fall short of achieving true equality, and this in spite of the fact that we represent more than half the population. Of course, most notable is the fight for equal pay, a fight, incidentally, that began in Pawtucket in 1824 when 102 women weavers walked off the job because only their wages were targeted for cuts. And that was the first act of organized labor in this country, and the women understood their power in the negotiation because at that time, the power loom was a new technology that allowed us to manufacture broadcloth in this country, which not only ensured our independence from Britain, but also made mill owners very wealthy. And those mill owners knew that they needed the women to operate the power looms. But 200 years since then, gender pay equity persists, with women earning about 20% less than men for similar work. And now we all know in other countries, women are readily elected to the positions of president and prime minister, but not in our country, not as of yet. Our representation in Congress is less than 30%. Our representation among governors and mayors is less than 25%. We fare a little better in the medical profession, but still only account for 38% of doctors. And in the C-suite, the leadership gap remains, with men chosen for CEO positions over women 17-1, and a woman's tenure as a CEO less than half that of a man at 4 years versus almost 9 years. So while we're confident we have the education, skills, and capacity to achieve on the same level as men, we're still continuing to ask ourselves, why aren't we? Could it be that our God-given ability for childbearing and child rearing, the fact that we tend to be the caregivers, or the natural occurrence of the menopause transition that challenges our confidence and our abilities at midlife be partly to cause? When women face these points in their life, they tend to experience career interruptions. Some women feel compelled to leave their jobs when at the peak of their institutional knowledge, or they may take a lesser role. And as a result of this, women are less prepared for retirement, saving less, relying more on Social Security and even public subsidy later in life. So while in this chamber we can be proud of the fact that we have several well-respected women holding positions of leadership, and our representation is better than average at 44%, our sisters around the globe continue to struggle with oppression, in the worst cases being denied educations, being forced to conceal their faces and bodies, being forced as young girls into marriages that are arranged, or suffering as victims of human trafficking or physical violence. So International Women's Day gives us an opportunity to reflect, to raise awareness of these issues, and to recognize that we have to continue to work together to break down these barriers. And Women's History Month encourages our citizens to learn more about the contributions of women in our country and society. So with that, Madam President, I move passage of the resolution.
Senator Urso.